Howdy, this is Voss Graham, your organizational architect with Interactive Consulting Group in Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm here today for a live presentation on sales processes. Now, why would we talk about sales processes? Because it's processes that can help you turn a prospect into a customer, qualify a customer, uh, shorten the sales cycle, and create long term relationships and generate a flow of referrals and additional leads that will help your company, your business grow. Now, there's been a lot of dialogue in the past about how does a company truly grow its sales, and they say there's only three distinct ways to do it. Number one is acquisition of new customers. Number two is to increase the size of the of each engagement or check, okay, order. And then the third area is the frequency of purchasing. When I refer to this as velocity. The more turns, the more they buy, and the faster they buy, the more your sales will grow, as well as your profit margin, even on commodity items. So let's get in and look at four specific areas that I want to talk to you about today. Number one of the most important, because it's one of the top three, is new customer acquisition. Now, think about this. Where do you get your new customers from? Is it strictly referrals, or do you have a process that helps you locate and find qualified buyers, people who are warm, not cold? I get a chuckle out of the number of people that go to trade shows, and they consider every lead they get, every business card they get, as a hot lead, and that is so far from the truth. There are qualified leads and there are cold leads. Some people just put their card in to get a freebie at the trade show, or they want to get something from you, watch a video, whatever, and they do that for free. They have no intention of ever buying anything from you. In fact, you can pretty much rest assured that there's at least 40% of the population out there that won't buy anything at any time. Or actually, well, maybe it's 30, okay? Or at least they're the last people to buy. And by that time, your margins are tighter. They only buy when it's cheap. So you've got people who are early adopters, and they get in there early, and they're willing to pay for it and get the competitive advantage. And then you've got the other 60%. In fact, I've seen figures as tight as 5% of new customer acquisition is actually a fast turnaround. The other roughly 60% is a group they're going to buy eventually, but they're going to take their time. They're going to do their research. They're going to do their due diligence. They're going to look at other options. They're going to see how they want to allocate their money. So what you have to do is have a structure in place that brings leads into your company. Now, you can do that using the internet, and there's a lot of people that do that, where you offer information and in exchange for email addresses, contact information, and move forward. Now, the best way is to do something that gets the customer to ask for something, or to actually make a phone call, set up an appointment for a call. That is the best way to get a new customer acquisition, is to have salespeople actually talking to real live prospects. Now, they should be qualified, and I admit that. In some cases they are, some cases they're not. However, if you're a professional firm, you get people to fill out an application, and then you screen, do they fit your model? That's something that a lot of companies are doing. I'm beginning to do that more and more with my private clients and this sort of thing. I don't want to just take on anybody. I want to make sure that they're a fit for what I teach, what I train, and they're willing and successful enough to to make a difference, and the application process works. Now, I'm gonna also mention something that few companies use, but as you grow in size and you have more people, a lot of times you will have an inside sales team as well as your outside sales team. And one of the things that you probably need is some dedicated new customer acquisition people on the staff who all are their primary job is to contact and qualify leads. Make sure that they're hot. Now, you could do this from the marketing perspective or the sales perspective. Today, I'm just talking about the sales side. So, on inside salespeople, you could have one or two people dedicated just to new customer acquisition. And again, the key is to get them on the phone and have conversations relative to what you sell. The second area is well defined and proven sales processes. This is something that I learned when I went to the strategic coach, and 3 years of training and learning exactly what entrepreneurs need to do in order to be successful. I was amazed at how few of us actually understood our sales processes. We had to do that if we were going to leverage and scale our business. If you're an entrepreneur, you've been doing all the selling possibly, or the majority of it. You've gotten most of the major accounts, as I did at one time, and to be able to replicate it was a effort. And the only way we could do that is to have a proven sales process. Understand where they came from, how we got them engaged, what were the steps, how long did it take, and then figure out ways to shorten those sales processes if possible. Now, it is important that you have a clearly defined sales process. It's the only way you can leverage your company and new people coming on board to quickly get in line or up to speed in the selling of your products and services. Sales processes are what works. I learned the value of sales processes a long time ago teaching snow skiing. And when I was doing that, I had to learn the ski process or the ski turn process. I'll get it out. And it was an interesting exercise because I had to break it down into five steps. And each step, you had the ideal, and then you had variances. And the variances would lead to other forms of disaster or no turn or crashes or etc. And we had to be able to recognize all those in order to teach others how to do it the right way. And I should have immediately picked up on that, but it took me a little while to figure that out. But it did help once I understood it, and I could apply these processes effectively. The ability to leverage and to scale became much easier. And we also helped a lot of companies figure out what their sales process was. Then they could leverage it faster and improve their whole sales culture. And that was particularly when we were moving from transactional selling to major account selling. I did a lot of those in the 90s and early 2000s, converting teams from transactional traditional sales models into more progressive, larger account, contract-based selling. Now, again, have a well-defined sales process. One of the things you will learn is that if somebody breaks the pattern, say there's 5 steps to your sales process, and somebody skips sections 2 and 3, Well, here's what's going to happen. At step 5, the issues that would have been resolved in 2 and 3 will raise their ugly little heads and slow down or stop the sales process in its tracks. I mean, that's been proven time after time after time. You can go through the 5 steps faster, maybe, or however many steps you have, and that's a good thing. Your role, or the role of particularly the sales executives, is to shorten those sales cycles as much as they can, because that improves velocity and growth. Finally, excuse me, the third area of processes is customer touch points. How often do you have processes that actually touch the customer? We have a high-tech world. We live in the age of text messaging and email messages, and even emails is getting harder and harder to open up. And you can forget a phone call almost, unless you have an appointment, because people will not answer the phones. They screen calls. There's no more gatekeepers, so to speak, taking and directing phone calls to the right and appropriate people, but they have automated systems saying, if you want to talk to so-and-so, please key in their extension. But if you don't have their extension, you're out of luck. That's all automated. So you've got to figure out how to do touch points. And as you do the touch points, you may also want to ask for referrals or introductions to other companies, or the vendors to your company, suppliers, so to speak. If you're offering services, maybe the suppliers to that company that you're selling to would be open to you coming in and meeting with them and seeing if you could solve their problems too. So again, customer touch points. How often do you meet with your customers to discuss success, making sure that they're happy campers? You're looking for customer satisfaction here, which leads to more customer loyalty. Remember, loyalty is a key component. I talked about that in one of the earlier sessions about the cost of acquisition for a new account is much greater than one that is renewing and repeat buying and that sort of thing. The profitability is much higher because your acquisition costs are pretty much nil and void at that point. So do you have a regular structure for touching your customers? And you should be touching your customers as frequently as possible to keep your company and your brand top of mind. Without the top of mind thought process, they'll think of other people to call on. So it's to your advantage to make consistent, regular customer contacts, touch points, either through visits, phone calls, invitations to executive briefings, anything that will create a one-on-one. Also, every 6 months at a minimum every year, do annual reviews of how well you did the previous year and how you helped that customer. What was their return on investment, to show them that they're actually getting a positive return on the dollars that they spend with you. And finally, the customer account development process is creating recurring revenues. Now, in this particular case, this is more of a what I call a more sophisticated pattern, where you're looking for, in the world of professional companies, it may be retainers, it could be business advisory, coaching, any number of things would be recurring revenue. Also, with a lot of B2B companies, I've noticed they'll have maintenance contracts now and service agreements, training contracts that are added on, which are reoccurring revenues, not to mention the fact that they may buy from you more regularly, particularly if you're in inventory management control aspects, where you're doing just-in-time delivery for the B2B industrials. That's a reoccurring revenue, which you the movement that's afoot, if you've noticed in software, is that everything is a monthly pay, and that's some type of contractual, reoccurring revenue situation. These are how you grow your sales over time, is to create programs or processes that allow you to have reoccurring revenue. Not a bad thing. I know with the major accounts, it was wonderful to know that when you opened the door at the first of the month, you knew that you were going to have X amount of business coming into the company. Whereas a traditional sales company had no idea what their sales were going to be for the next day, much less the entire month. So it's very important. Now, again, of these steps, probably the most important is understanding your sales processes and know them, cold, to the point where you can recognize when things are going south or when they're going in the right direction. And that I've actually seen customers that do this at a very sophisticated level, where they can actually forecast sales and production levels, inventory levels, etc., for these particular customers, because of the contractual basis that they develop, or in the case of acquisition of new customers, using different algorithms and percentages, and understanding how their processes work, and believing in math to calculate leading indicators, they could actually forecast their sales to new accounts with some degree of accuracy. And that made a big difference in the world of scheduling and inventory purchases, etc. And this is what you need to be able to do, is to do this automatically, understand your sales process. No more winging it. No more just standing up and trying to make a presentation and hoping that a bunch of customers buy. That's old school. It doesn't work anymore. You got to earn your stripes. It's a sales process now, and having some other processes in play to support that. All right. So that's the third installment of a 14-part series on major business processes that impact your business success. And I trust that you've enjoyed this. If you have, please make a comment below, or like it, or share it, and with others that could benefit from it, particularly sales teams and VPs of sales managers, etc. So you take care. You have a great day. And this is Voss Graham signing off for the day. And I look forward to tomorrow.